Good afternoon, this is Tam Wendell with Bushcraft on Fire, and today I wanted to share with you a couple of recipes using wild onions. So if you haven't seen any wild onions, come along with me and I'll show you how to find them. Alright, over here we have a little bundle of the wild onions, and I'm going to put the little shovel behind it and then gently tip forward. And you can see here we've got a nice little bunch of onions. Now we found that the easiest way to get them cleaned is to first just allow the little batch of onions to soak in some water. So just set them in the water, and the water is going to loosen that dirt up and the onions will clean right up. Okay, the onions have just sat for a minute or two, and a little bit of shaking and they all start to come apart. So what we're going to do is take these over to the cutting board, get them all chopped up and ready to make onion bread. Now that we've gathered our onions, if you take a look here, you can see they range in size quite a bit. So you get a good handful, and you just simply take them, chop off the little root end, do a couple at a time, and then I use to about here on them. If I find some of the larger ones, I keep them to add in. I find that the little ones get a little tough, so these bigger ones actually have more tender green portion. So what I'm going to do is I'll chop these all up and then I'll be right back with you. Alright, I have the onions all chopped up now, and what I'm going to do is divide this amount between two different batters. I'll use half of it for this bowl, and this half will go in this bowl. The first batch of flatbread I'm going to do has 2 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 3 tablespoons of olive oil, and a little pinch of salt, as well as those scallions. And what I'm going to do is just mix in a cup of water. Makes it easier to mix the bread if you first do your liquids with a portion of the flour, so it mixes in real well. As you can see, this is still a very sticky dough, so what I'm going to do is slowly add another cup of flour into it. Just keep working that in until I can start kneading it by hand without getting dough all over my hands. Alright, I've added the rest of the flour into my bowl, and now I'm just going to begin to knead it. If you do it in a larger bowl, then it's easier to knead, use up all your flour. Alright, I'm about done kneading this dough. You can see it doesn't stick to my fingers anymore. And I'm just making it into a ball. Then what I'm going to do is just slide that into a Ziploc bag. And I'll let this batch sit here in the sun while I prepare the second batch. For the second batch of dough, this one is going to be more like a pancake batter consistency. And what I've done here is put in 2 cups of flour and 3 teaspoons baking powder, a teaspoon of salt, and 2 tablespoons of butter, as well as the little wild green onions. And I've mixed that. What I'm going to do is sort of push it to the middle of the bowl, make a little hole in the center, and I'm going to be adding 2 eggs beaten and 1.5 cups of water. We'll just whip these eggs up. The farm fresh eggs are awesome, nice rich orange color. Alright, I'll pour that right here in the middle, as well as 1.5 cups of water. I'm just going to begin to stir this around. Now this one here is supposed to be a batter-like consistency. It's still going to be flatbread, but you prepare it much the same way as you would pancakes. Alright, so all the flour's been absorbed in it, has a lovely yellow color to it, and we're going to take this over to the fire and make up some flatbread. Well, here we are at the fire pit. You can see the wood's just nearly all burnt up and almost into that coal stage. So I'm going to go ahead and spray my griddle, my cast iron pan. And what I'll do is, same way as you would make pancakes, just take a spoonful. Alright, and we'll just let that cook up until we see the bubbles start to pop just like you do with pancakes. This one over here is already ready to be turned, so I'm going to give the pan a little twist so they can all cook up equally. It's still pretty light, so we'll let these two sit a little longer until they brown up more. Now you can see them browning as my skillet's getting really hot. Just turn it over to get a little golden brown on the first side. There we go. Alright, here's the first three, and we'll get off another batch going. Now, make sure you stir your batter so the green onions are spread throughout the bread. These are going to go a lot faster because the skillet is way hotter now. My skillet's pretty hot here, so I've got to get these turned over. And you can see the baking soda is causing them to rise. As you can see, the second batch is a lot fluffier than the first because I started with a cold skillet. Well, there you have it. This is wild onion flatbread. Now, another thing you can do is to just take your batter, spread it out, and make just a big flatbread that you can cut into pieces. Okay, we're going to try to get under this. There we go. And we'll just let the second side brown up, and you'll have a nice piece of bread you can just divide up into quarters. Okay, what I've done is just taken the whole pan off the heat. Check out the other side. There we go. Nice browns coming through here. I can actually just let it sit for a minute or two off the fire and it'll just finish up browning. Okay, we're ready to start the second batch of our dough. What I'm going to do is just sprinkle a little bit of flour on my table. And here's our dough. And I'll just sort of move it around on here for a bit. And we'll just break off a portion about this size. Now you can flatten it by hand if you don't have a rolling pin. It's not a big deal. Just make yourself a couple of round flatbread. And we'll be putting these on the fire as well. Alright, now we're going to head over to the fire. See you there. Now we're ready to start cooking our second batch. As you notice, this is flat bread. It's not the same as pancake batter. And we're just going to put a little bit of oil in the pan. And Put these on and we'll give them a flip over once they're nice and golden brown. Nice and toasty golden, so we've turned them over, and as soon as the other side's brown, we'll have some more flatbread ready to eat. Okay, we'll check here if this side's brown. Yep. Nice and golden brown. Alright, as you can see here, I've got quite a large piece of dough. It covers the entire base of the skillet, and we're going to let this side cook until it's golden brown. Then we'll flip it over, and then we're going to make a little surprise for our friends Ethan and Josiah. Okay, we're going to take a peek here. Nice and golden brown. Gonna move it. We're going to spoon some sauce over it. Now what I'm going to do is let this cook until the bread is toasty brown. Then we're going to remove it from heat, put a lid on it, and the cheese will melt because of the heat of the skillet. Okay, we're going to lift it up, take a peek. We see we're browning real nice. So we'll remove this from heat, set it on the rock, get a cast iron skillet lid, pop this on, and we'll leave that there until the cheese melts. Well, I'm back at the table here with our finished products, and I'd like to show you the pizza, which was the last one we did, just using the onion flatbread. And just run the pizza cutter through it a minute so I can show you. The bottom's all nice and cooked. Cheese is all melted. So we can make up some pizza slices here. So we have our choice with the pizza slices or the onion flatbread or the onion flatbread that's made a lot like pancakes. These are really fluffy. And these here, they're fluffy as well, but there you can see they're the bread consistency. And the pizza, because it sat for a while longer, has the pizza crust. The top is softly cooked, light brown, and well, I think the next step is to test it out. So for Ethan and Josiah, let me test it out. That's good pizza. This is Tam Wendell with Bushcraft on Fire, thanking you for joining me for this video of all the different ways you can use up those wild green onions in your yard. You'll have a blessed day, and we'll see you soon on another video.